Hello, everybody. Hopeland 93 in the place to be. Here for another favorite movies to never have a sequel. 2 weeks ago, I did a video. My last video was on 1997 science fiction movie, The Fifth Element, starring Bruce Willis, Mila Jovovich, Chris Rock, and Gary Oldman, and Ian Holm. Um, the hint for this video was the hint at the end of that video was crack, which just so happens to be a reference to the 1991 crime drama film New Jack City, starring Wesley Snipes, Ice-T, Mario Van Peebles, Chris Rock, and Judd Nelson. First time I saw New Jack City had to be probably 2006. Probably 2006 or 2005 the first time I saw New Jack City. It could even be maybe a year before 2005. New Jack City was actually an independent film. At one point, it was the highest grossing independent film of all time when it came out. It was also Mario Van Peebles' directorial debut. It was based around the American crack epidemic, and that was from the 1984 to I think roughly around the early 90s. And this crack epidemic was very was very crumbling. It was very crumbling to to places like um, to places like Oakland and Los Angeles and New York City, of course, and that's where New Jack City takes place. Um, but the three most cities that took the most damage from the American crack cocaine epidemic were New York City, Pennsylvania, and um, New York City, Pennsylvania, and I think Los Angeles. Um, but let's get on to the synopsis of New Jack City. New Jack City, when it begins, you see stars Wesley Snipes as the character Nino Brown, who at the time it starts off in the late 80s, who starts off as just a rising drug dealer, but then goes on to become a dominant crime lord for New York City. He actually goes on to basically invade and takes over the um, the Carter, a big apartment complex, which in reality is is known as the Graham Court, but in the movie they just refer to it as the Carter. Um, he has his own gang, the Cash Money Brothers. The Cash Money Brothers. That also but goes on when they take over the Carter, it becomes bigger as most crime lord, you know, organized crimes do. They become bigger with the help of his best friend slash assistant G Money, who Alan Payne played. Their enforcer, played by Bill Nunn, known as the Dutta Man. And the reason why he's called that because he stutters. Because there's one part where he's like, they make fun. He's like, "Suck my dick," and Keisha and Nino's girlfriend Selena Thomas and her brother, tech savvy Kareem Akbar. So they basically take over and they basically run roughshod. They basically take over. We actually see a little bit of a compilation or montage of them basically taking over the Carter, from terrorizing families' homes, and actually there's one part where Nino Brown basically holds the actual um the landlord. He basically, you know, holds the basically forces the landlord out of the street, butt ass naked, downright humiliating. And it just goes to show, what a man or whoever is capable of doing just to, enforce their power. And now let's get on. Then we get on to, the protagonist of this movie, Ice-T, who plays undercover detective Scotty Appleton, which I would think would be a prelude. It would be a prelude for two things, and they both go hand in hand. It would be a prelude to, I would think, it would be a prelude of him going on to play Finn in Law and Order SVU, which he's been doing a phenomenal job as. And since I bring up this Finn character, because it maybe was a prelude to actually having a kind of funny-esque name, because the whole name of his character Finn in Law and Order SVU is Oda Finn 220, which I found out the name Oda Finn actually has a meaning. But even Ice-T himself, always jokes about, that name. And even his character, when they ask for his name, he just says, just call me Finn. He doesn't really want to be referred as Oda Finn. And then you got Mary Van Peebles as Detective Stone, who leads a task force team to take down the CMB. And after being put under pressure by his superior, he has no other choice but to, go to, Scotty, and give Scotty his partner, who happens to be a loose cannon cop, Nick Peretti, who Judd Nelson plays. And at first, their relationship, is not the best relationship. There's a lot of tension at first. The first scene with them, you got tension. You got, when they say this guy, first guy, Ice-T, Scotty, this biscuit head, and then you have um um and then he also makes a joke to about being a part of the mafia, and here comes here comes that man. F the mafia. I'm gonna wax your high yellow ass. Oh, I'm scared. I'm scared. So that's so right there from the start, things were not pretty between them. But as the movie goes on, they start to gain trust with each other. Um, but before, and actually to go a little bit far back in the movie's beginning, we see in the late '90s. Now also do we see Nino Brown as a rising drug dealer. We also see Scotty as a undercover um, officer, and he's doing a deal with a stick up kid who happens to be Chris Rock's character Pookie. And the reason why I bring that up is because we will see Pookie later on, but he will be homeless, and he just showed that he became a straight up crack fiend. I mean, his lips were all purple and white. Even when Scotty, apprehends him, stops Pookie from beating up his girlfriend. You got Pookie, the crack in his lips, like, they just be calling me, just be calling, just basically being real about being a crack addict. He can't help it. He's addicted to it. And instead of arresting him, Scotty goes on to take another approach and send him to rehab. And it turns out for the best, and but unfortunately, it turns out for the best. And as a token to Scotty's gratitude and and generous offer of sending him to rehab, you know Pookie feels obligated to pay him back, more so than ever by being, by infiltrating, the Carter and taking down, the CMB, and Stone and Nick, they're against it. You know, Scotty's kind of against it, but he goes against his better judgment and does it anyway. And at first, everything seemed to be good. And this was one of the first cases in a movie that I remember as a kid or growing up seeing in a movie depiction of withdrawal, because throughout, you know, Pookie's tenure of, going undercover and infiltrating, um, the Carter, you see scenes of him, having, the urges of, taking another shot of crack or cocaine, comes back, and at first, he throws it away, but then unfortunately the urges succumb him, and he gets high, and you know his cover gets blown. In his next job, his next time, infiltrating, and things go rocky for both the CMB and Scotty, Nick, and Detective Stone, which leads to Nick and Scotty, but mostly Scotty, going undercover to take down Nino Brown. And when he does go undercover, and he's first encounter with Nino Brown, first one-on-one encounter with Nino Brown as undercover with the CMB, Nino Brown basically tells him of his past, about when he's part of the gang called the LA Boys. As a part of his initiation, he killed a school teacher, and this school teacher just so happens to just so happened to be, later on we're gonna find out, just happened to be Scotty's mother. And I remember watching it, I'm like, whoa, talk about if things was just about, it's personal, because just to stop this crime lord from, you know, gaining domination. But now it's even personal, it's even more personal than ever. And that's basically, I'm not going to spoil really anything else, but from right there on, that's when, things really start to pick up for New Jack City. And New Jack City, you know, even though it came out in 1991 and I saw it in, the 2000s, it still had an effect, you know, on me, because when I was in school, I was part of, when I was in school, my class was part of um, 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 was part of, I'm called, oh man, oh man, can't wait, I'm almost forgetting, oh man, hmm. Oh man, I'm sorry, folks. Man, I'm forgetting. Sorry, folks, about that. Had to check. Part of something called DARE, the DARE program, which was basically a program against, drugs and so. And that's one thing. That was one of the first things I thought about when I first saw New Jack City. And the movie also gives, an epilogue. Gives an epilogue about, how, this movie was fictional. The movie was fictional. There are people like Nino Brown in the real world, and we don't stop, we just ignore that fact, then stuff like this is going to continue to hurt and dominate our cities and streets. And New Jack City overall was, praised. It was praised for the soundtrack, for for the story, for performances. Wesley Snipes, you know played the Nino Brown character, who was smug and arrogant, cocky, basically everything that you would despise, from a villain. And he played that role to a T. And like I said before, Ice-T as playing Scotty Appleton, really helped, in my opinion, probably willing to go help, him later on to become part of the SVU, part of Law and Order SVU as, Finn, because I felt he did a great job as the character. And I've always said that, you most time hear, when rappers are, going to acting role, it's a lot to, left to be as, there's nothing left to be desired. There's a lot left to be desired and stuff. But Ice-T, he doesn't try too hard, and it seems like he's just being himself, but he's just, as they most times say in entertainment, just turn up the volume a little bit, or I guess in Ice-T's case, he's really not turning the volume, he's just being himself, and it comes off natural, and it goes on to be well. So, yeah, Ice-T is one of those, prominent rappers who went to the acting role, and he plays into the crime drama realm very well. I mean, it goes hand in hand. It's like it's a perfect match. And that's about it for what I have to say about New Jack City. If you have never seen New Jack City, I recommend you do. It doesn't need a sequel. It presented its message very well, and it came at the right time, 1991, which I believe was when the crack cocaine epidemic was about to end. So it still had a major effect, and and its timing is everything. When you're able to reflect your art off of a real life aspect, that it's in the peak of it makes for a bigger impact. And that's what New Jack City did. So, that's about it for New Jack City. Don't forget to check the hint for the next video, for the next movie, for my next video. This is Hopeland93 telling you to accept yourself as you are and be true to what you are. Take care, ladies and gentlemen.